think we might learn a thing or two about refugees, asylum seekers and illegal immigrants. The SNP have been in power in Scotland for a very long time. Nicola Sturgeon said plans to deport illegal immigrants were disgraceful.
The government's illegal migration bill sets out a clear intention to remove the right to seek refugee protection in the United Kingdom. It is utterly shameful and immoral.
Breaking tonight, a storm has settled over Scotland, not one of weather, but of will. What began as a single act of violence in the heart of Edinburgh has spiralled into something far larger, a confrontation between a nation's patience and a government's power. It started quietly at dusk. The streets around Waverley Station glowed in the cold, orange light of the evening rush. Then, within seconds, everything changed. A man was stabbed on Princes Street. 6 masked figures fled through the crowd, speaking in a language no one recognised. By the time the police arrived, the attackers were gone, and the city had fallen into a silence sharper than the scream that broke it. Hours later, Westminster issued its own message, a new transfer order. Hundreds of asylum seekers moved from Dover to a Glasgow hotel. Officials called it logistics. Scotland called it something else, a warning. In just 4 days, 1,500 arrivals crossed the Channel. To London, it was numbers and policy. To Scotland, it felt like pressure, a reminder of who held the power to decide. By morning, outrage turned into organisation. The Scottish Parliament convened in urgency. Questions filled the chamber, answers did not. Then Nigel Farage rose, a folded paper in his hand, his voice cutting through the noise. As a matter of national security, he began, an illegal immigrant from Iran who arrived by boat had been arrested in the north of England on terrorism charges. Gasps filled the room. Cameras flashed. But when the question reached the Prime Minister, he didn't respond. Starmer simply turned the page before him. No apology, no plan, no acknowledgement. Minutes later, Treasury documents leaked. £2.7 million diverted from Scottish councils to fund migrant support operations. When confronted, a junior minister repeated the same line everyone in Edinburgh had come to dread. London decides, you implement. That was the answer Scotland received, and the last one it was willing to accept. By nightfall, candles appeared on windowsills across Glasgow. By noon the next day, those candles had become crowds. More than 200,000 people poured into George Square. Silent at first, a city holding its breath. Then slowly, the silence cracked. A woman's voice rose from the front. Protect our streets. In seconds, 1,000 others answered. Police lines tightened, helmets dropped, batons came down. At 1:17 p.m, glass shattered across the steps of the city chambers. Within minutes, barriers collapsed. Union Street and Queen Street froze under the weight of chaos. By dusk, 240 were detained. 31 officers injured. Drone footage captured police formations collapsing, orders shouted, confusion spreading like smoke. Police Scotland called it public tension under review, but everyone knew what it really was, the moment when patience ran out and obedience died. The next morning, the government called it calm restored. Scotland called it control. Police vans lined the streets. Engines idled. Officers stared at windows above. The phrase, situation under control, flashed across official feeds. Language cleared by Westminster hours before release. But the truth was anything but controlled. Leaked Home Office memos told a different story. £4.66 million authorised overnight for containment and perception management. Even press briefings were pre-approved by Downing Street before local officials could speak. It wasn't policing anymore. It was censorship broadcast in real time. And yet resistance found new ways to breathe. Mary, a BBC presenter, refused to read the government script live on air. Her screen cut to black mid-sentence. That silence became the loudest sound of all. By 10 a.m, Starmer met Police Scotland behind closed doors. 2 more hotels were approved for asylum housing in Perth and Inverness. No notice, no vote. He believed he was restoring order, but silence can be louder than power. By midday, construction workers walked off-site. Students left classrooms. No chants, no slogans, just quiet defiance. A stare that said more than any slogan could. In Glasgow, barricades rose again. Every bridge guarded, every station watched. The government claimed it was for public safety. No one believed them anymore. At 1 o'clock, a mother in Dundee stood on her doorstep holding a sign, "Protect our children." By evening, hundreds of windows across Scotland carried the same words. At 5:30, veterans marched again through George Square. No chants, no speeches, only footsteps echoing through the cold air. The government labelled them extremists. They called themselves fathers. When police moved to clear the crowd, one officer stepped aside. A camera caught him whispering, "Not today." The clip was deleted, but not before 40 million people saw it. By morning, fear had changed sides. London awoke to headlines claiming order restored. But across Scotland, shutters stayed down, flags hung at half-mast. Bus stops carried new posters. "We serve the people." The message spread faster than any law. Farmers joined factory workers. Church bells rang, not for mourning, but for memory. In Aberdeen, 3,000 dock workers refused to unload government cargo. "If London can't feed our families," they said, "it won't feed itself." That night, a journalist published figures the beast had buried. £9.4 million cut in 3 days for emergency asylum housing. And suddenly, everyone understood this was never about migration. It was about silence. Scotland wasn't rebelling. It was remembering who it was. As darkness fell, internet speeds plummeted, posts vanished within minutes. The Home Office blamed technical faults. No one believed them. People returned to paper, ink and word of mouth. Bus drivers carried letters between towns. Churches opened doors for whispered meetings. There were no leaders, no parties, only truth passed hand to hand. At 9 p.m, a clip appeared online. A police officer stood before a crowd, removed his helmet and said, "We serve the people, not the protocol." It was deleted, but too late. 50 million views, 50 million hearts awake. Scotland had run out of patience. London had run out of control. By the next morning, chaos had reached the markets. The pound dropped 6%. Energy stocks crashed. European investors froze their trades. Inside Parliament, Starmer called an emergency session. Half the seats were empty. The rest sat silent. At 2 p.m, an aide leaned close and whispered, "Prime Minister, Scotland is gone." He meant politically. It sounded like a eulogy. Outside in the rain, hundreds gathered. No chants, no banners, just folded flags held close to their chests. A single voice called out, "We are Britain, not your border." No one stopped him. That night, reports confirmed what London feared most. Civil servants across Edinburgh, Aberdeen and Perth had resigned en masse. They weren't protesting anymore, they were leaving. For the first time, London didn't face rebellion, it faced abandonment. Dawn came soft and wet. No sirens, no smoke, just rain washing the glass and ash from the streets. Shops reopened, white cloths hung from windows across Edinburgh to not surrender, but peace. Outside Holyrood, children laid flowers where the first march began. Each note read the same, "For Scotland, for everyone." By noon, the Union flag hung still at half-mast. No speeches, no anthem, only silence, heavy, human and honest. London watched. It could not censor that. What began with a single attack had become something larger, a lesson written in patience, in pride, in quiet defiance. Unity without respect is domination. And in the end, Scotland didn't need to shout. Truth had finally come home. If you stand for truth, subscribe, because this isn't ending, it's only beginning. Thank you for watching. It's watching. Stay thoughtful, stay aware, and take care of one another.